One. And we're going to welcome Jamelle McMillan to the show. Jamelle, how you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. So before we were talking, born and raised in Seattle, big Seahawks guy. Just funny to take me through what's it like living in New Orleans, right? For the time you were here, and then also being a Seahawks guy. That had to be kind of tough, huh?
Yeah. I had to pick my battles on many different occasions. Um, just just an awesome environment out there with the Saints and everything that they do and how they have that thing put together. It's really cool to see, and the city behind it. It's really like a religion out there. So really cool to see and be a part of that. But I still had to hold true to my roots, and Russell has delivered on many occasions for me, with some of the ushers and people around town. So it was really cool to be a part of both environments.
For sure. And before we get into this, we got to talk about your dad, Nate, and the job he's doing in Atlanta. And I think he was wrongfully fired in Indiana. He did a great job. And he was on 183, 136 record for the Pacers and everything like that. And he's really taken this Hawks team kind of to the next level, right? And so what do you like? What are you seeing from the Hawks and Trae Young and Gallinari and all those guys? And why have they succeeded under your father, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great group of guys. Everything that he said about them and coming back and the conversations that we've had, he really enjoys the group. They're a group that's eager to learn. They're a group that's tasting a little bit of success, and it's really important for young guys to do. And they were able to put together a pretty cool run there, kind of around the All-Star break and everything like that. And just to see it, just to experience it, that generates a lot of energy and a lot of pretty cool situations within your group that are very valuable down the road. And as this group tries to mature and get through with some of the vets and guys that they brought in. So they play hard. They play hard. They play physical. And that's something that he's tried to preach. Take care of the basketball while putting your hands on people. That's something that's not necessarily accepted in the game today, but it is a contact sport, and that's what they've done. Just trying to get those young guys up and down the floor, keep a lot of spirit, joy, and energy in the game of basketball for those young guys, and they've responded. And so far, they're having a lot of fun, and he's having a lot of fun with them.
Sure. And, I think the star of the team's Trae Young. What do you like about his game? I mean, he's a guy, the Pelicans play them, over the past couple of days, and I got to finally watch him play, really. And he's just a guy that seems to be unguardable, right? And I don't know how you guard him. I think I saw you on Twitter a couple of nights ago. Like, when he gets into that kind of groove, right, when he's knocking shots 28, 30 feet from the rim, how do you stop that?
Get the ball out of his hands. That's
it. Should I get the ball out of his
hands? That's really what, a lot of these matchups are across the league. Guys are so good these days, especially guards, and everything they're able to do, how they've been able to come up with ways to bend around the rules a little bit and still be highly, highly effective while keeping the defensive end guessing at all times. And so I think the biggest thing is, with a guy like that is you got to put pressure on him, keep him off balance with different coverages, up, traps, back, just zone, try to move him around the floor and make him make reads in a lot of different situations. And so they're going to figure it out. They're good. These guys, at some point, they're going to figure it out, and you're going to have to go to something else, what have you. Or, if it's an off night, then you've been blessed by the basketball gods on that night. But, it's really cool to watch it. I wasn't being in the West. I didn't get to see much of him throughout my time in New Orleans and Phoenix. But now that he's a staple and part of what Pops is trying to do, the kid's unbelievable talent, gets anywhere he wants to go on the floor. And the crazy part, he's still learning the basketball game. He's still learning how to play the game.
Right.
And that's it is for a lot of defenders for years to come. But extremely cool for him and being able to connect the way he has with a lot of his teammates this year and see it a different way. It's been good. So really proud of what they put together over there.
Sure. And I want to bring up 2 points you just mentioned there. One, zone, and two, defending, right? So you've seen now lately that teams are starting to go two zones, right? I think Nick Nurse kind of started that a couple of years ago in like the playoffs, and I think Spoelstra did it a couple of times last year. Do you think it's been effective because NBA teams don't really work on that in practice, or like what is your thoughts on the 2-3 zone? Because it when I see it, I'm like, this is basic, simple, just move the ball, fake the pass, make a pass. Some of these guys struggle with it.
It depends on, there's a right way to play it.
Right.
And zone is not the stand there and bounce up and down, and then I'm here and then I'm there, and then, like the traditional way that we see most high school teams and college teams play it, right? Miami gets after you more in a man-to-man type mindset, while in a zone, and all they're doing is essentially it becomes switching. Switching is zone. We've seen Houston do it for years with James and those guys. James is better on the back line. And has been an effective defender down there. And he's got the leverage down there. He's able to hold his ground. And so it works for different, depending on your roster, but you got to have the guys to do it. Just like you have to have the guys to press, and you have to have the guys to run it. I mean, there's an identity behind the defender. And Miami has that. They've got guys in there and brought guys there that fit the mold. To stay aggressive in all of their coverages, and so Boston's another team that uses 2-3 zone a lot. And, they've had the reputation, the Marcus Smarts of the world, Jaylen Browns of the world, those guys, they get after you. And if you're able to get after guys on the perimeter in a zone type setting, it can be very, very effective.
And speaking of getting after people, I think we were all blessed to see Jrue Holiday, right, on a day-to-day basis. What made him, it's so hard to see with the naked eye, but what made him a great defender? And still to this day, like you see it every day where all-stars like Paul George come out, James Harden, all these guys are like, Jrue Holiday is the best on-ball defender. What did you get to see? Why is he so good? Why is he so effective?
He simply has an interest in it. And that's 90% of the battle. Most of these guys make it to the NBA based off of getting buckets all the time. And that's what's praised in the AAU circuit, and that's what gets you the McDonald's All-American and whatever. It's never the defensive portion. And it's built in some guys. They just do it at a young age in the AAU circuit in their high school levels and then up through college. Jrue has always had that makeup. Even when I played him from UCLA, he was putting forearms on people, and that was his thing. He wasn't a get buckets guy back then. And it's just simply an interest, it's something he enjoys doing. I think there's a pride behind it for him that, when you go through a playoff series like we did with Damian Lillard, and, you're getting the notoriety around the league for being able to make it tough on a Damian Lillard type situation, then you sweep Portland. That there's a whole different kind of credit that goes with that. And that credit is a little bit different than the praise for the triple doubles in Russell Westbrook or the scoring in James Harden and all that kind of stuff, so Drew's an unreal human being and an unreal, just under the radar guy who really enjoys playing on that side of the basketball and trying to figure out guys and how to stop them and force them into something else. That's his challenge, just like a scorer goes out and tries to get buckets all the time. So I'm really happy he's up in Milwaukee with a team that is a defensive kind of identity team that he can kind of fit in and maybe even help in situations with his suggestions and all that kind of stuff, and see how they go in the playoffs with him and Middleton and Giannis out front. But it was definitely a luxury to have a guy like that on the roster and to be with him for so long.
And I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. That's super over Portland, the coaching staff, the game plan you had for Lillard and McCollum. Y'all were fantastic. Y'all just completely took. I mean, Dame Lillard. Y'all made him actually human that series, and just you saw. And then Anthony Davis and Mirotic went off and everything like that. But attest to y'all's coaching staff as well for game planning for Dame Lillard, because I can't imagine that's too easy to do because he's that good. But you mentioned James Harden, played at Arizona State. Harden, y'all played for 2 years together. Can you tell me, like, when you were going against him every day, right? Did you think he would be a guy that would basically change the league? Like in his college days, like in 2007, 2008, like he's taken over the league now and just completely changed it. Did you kind of see that in college as well, or no?
I saw that he would be good, not this good.
Not this.
I did see that he was going to be a really good pro and a guy that, we'd be seeing and watching and paying attention to for a really long time.
What do you think?
MVP
What do you think took him to that
MVP.
next level? Like, what took him to that next level?
James is a fanatic for basketball. It's all he cares about. I feel like he had a life IQ early, even back then in college, to understand what was really important to put him in position to be where he is.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
He really was strategic about how he operated. He was strategic about how he approached different things and his preparation and different things with the coaching staff and stuff like that. And his communication between coaches at the coaching staff as the high level guy, between his teammates as the high level guy with us, and just really being able to groom and mold himself in ways that guys don't really understand until maybe their third, fourth, fifth, sixth year, sometimes never in the league. So just a tremendous foundation and base about him that I think has put him aside with his work, with his work ethic and how he gets after it. He's done nothing but put himself in position after position after position to do the things that we pay attention and praise him for, the scoring, and he's won a lot of games and stuff, right, and has been the high level guy and the dollar figure and, right, all that kind of stuff. And so, really proud of what he's been able to put together, really proud of being able to be a part of the beginning of that with his college days. And, I'm really looking forward to how this year ends up.
That seems pretty lethal. You want to talk about defensive schemes? I don't know.
That's a different.
It's fun we talk about that because obviously you think of the Nets of Kyrie, KD, and Harden, but like who also could use that guy named Joe Harris who'll just sit in the corner there and shoot a 3 to 42% clip and things like that. And now you have LaMarcus Aldridge and you got Blake Griffin. It's just that's a team I couldn't imagine, in a playoff setting, how you're going to stop that team.
Yeah, it's you're going to have to make them shoot a lot of jump shots over contested hands, and really you're going to have to limit them to one shot. If they start offensive rebounding the ball, you can forget about it. Yeah. I think Joe Harris is becoming everybody's favorite player. And I actually respect the guy. He's a shooter that plays both ways. And that's huge. When you have a shooter that tries the way he does on defense, much like Klay Thompson for Golden State. So, that team's a monster. It's a beast, but they are beatable. And, there are ways and creativity wise that, and then who knows health wise where they'll be. Right. They've been all over the place with their health. And so I think that's the biggest key for them.
Sure.
Going through the
I'm glad you brought up the Warriors because I wanted to go back for y'all's playoff run a couple of years ago. I'll never forget going to those games and things like that. What was it like? And I know y'all had Drew Holiday on KD and things like that. How hard was it to stop that offense with Curry, Thompson, KD, Draymond, and whoever their fifth was? It could have been Zaza Pachulia or whoever it may have been. Game plan wise, what were y'all trying to do? Because at the end of the day, you can't stop Kevin Durant once he catches the ball 10 feet from the rim. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, if he was posting like he was, yeah, well, it was, those are fadeaway twos that over Drew Holiday are going to be tougher than most. Sure. But, again, it is Kevin Durant. The main thing about that group was you never got a break on defense because of their movement, because of their cutting. It was a real organized chaos that it never stopped. It never quit. The second the ball went in the post, the split game was unreal, but you couldn't help because there was a shooter here and a shooter there. And then you had the Livingstons and Iguodala's on the baseline that really knew how to sneak behind the defense. And then the illegal screens by Pachulia and all their bigs set illegal screens. But, it was a force. It was a definite force, but there wasn't a possession that you ever had off. Because even if they were coming down and they shot it early. They were a great offensive rebounding team. And so you really had to understand communication was huge. Physicality was huge, which they were just as physical as any other team. And then you had to protect from the inside out. You really couldn't get spread out against that team, as crazy as that sounds with them from the 3-point line, because you had to rebound the ball. You had to rebound when you forced them to miss. And so that's easier said than done.
Sure.
With that group. But, our guys, so much was taken out of them from the Portland series, and it was an emotional high, and it was something that, we didn't plan on sweeping Portland, but
right.
After the first two, we were like, okay. And then I think we saw a lot of that with Gonzaga, in the Final Four, and
right.
they have an emotional win and then just flat in the championship. It's hard to get back up to that level, and that's what is important about those teams. They stay at that level. That's where these young guys are trying to get to, and the Golden States, the LeBron James, all those teams, they understand that, and they're able to do it. So it was a good time, man. It was a really good time in New Orleans for basketball. It was a really good time for us as a team and coaching staff and organization. So miss those days.
Yeah, those are fun to watch. And you said one thing, right? And this is what I've been trying to preach with the offense that we kind of run today. Is you said organized chaos and splits and things like that. What I think makes Curry and Thompson, all those guys, unguardable is because they don't stop moving, right? And so Draymond knows where to screen, and Draymond knows where they're going, and things like that. And I think it's kind of a lost art in today's game because people just see the highlights of Curry and Thompson just shooting threes, but they don't realize how to set up a man, how to read a screen, different things like that. And so when you say organized chaos, it makes a lot of sense because it really was. There's just no stopping, and game playing for that's almost impossible.
Yeah, you just got to have the juice. You got to have the players. They got to have the juice. I do think you're gonna have to hit them one or two times. Make them go to the monitor and just let them know you're in the building. Like at that time, let them know you're there, because there's not much that phase that group.
Not much at all, right?
Yeah. So
y'all took game 3 at home, and then I think Draymond came out, was like, yeah, I don't think Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry are going to shoot like that ever again. And then they just came out game 4.
It was for sure.
And there's just nothing you could do. But no, that was an awesome team. It was fun to watch. Now, I kind of want to get into the Pelicans a little bit. You got to be with Lonzo last year, and the biggest thing about him is his shot form and how it's gone from his left side of his face now to proper form and everything like that. How hard of a worker is Lonzo? Because Jamelle, that's not easy to do, right? He grew up all 16, 17 straight years of shooting like this, and then all of a sudden to shoot like that. How much of a difference has it made? And to test to Fred Vincent and also Lonzo, the work that was put in.
So many reps. I mean, hours. I mean, during the season, a lot of guys do that in the off season. Mm-hmm. Lonzo, for him to work through that during a season and to stick with it. I mean, the second we got into a city on the road, they were to the arena. And it was every trip. It wasn't like it was one or two trip. Every trip, automatic. They didn't miss unless it was a blizzard or something in Minnesota. But they didn't miss. And that guy, and Brandon Ingram would be there with them. I think he has helped tremendously with them coming from the Lakers, having that background together. And Brandon's a guy who made the All-Star team. And the fact that he is in there after, trying to become an All-Star at the time. He's in there, and then he's next to you, that there's something to be said for that as a leader in Brandon Ingram, and a confidence level for Lonzo that, this is important. And I do think that Lonzo wanted to kind of redefine himself leaving LA and away from the narrative that he had and all the noise and everything, rightfully so.
Sure.
And so he's a tremendous kid. Lonzo, he's a quiet guy, kind of a shy guy, but everything is, he listens, he's attentive. He's very nice human being. And so it's good to see him seeing success, especially starting from that foundation last year and seeing to where he is going a month, shooting 40% from three and all that kind of stuff, eliminating some of the attempts that he was throwing up there before. I think in opening night of last year, he shot 11 threes. A lot of them were sidestep, whatevers, and all that stuff. He's eliminated those from his game and understood how he can be successful. Sure. And I think the staff, in particular, Fred, has given him the blueprint for that. And it's really come to fruition. So it's really cool to see that. I do think that if he is able to put it together now, a complete game far as his rim attacks and getting to the free throw line, owning the free throw line and owning free throw attempts.
Sure.
The game's going to open up unbelievable for him.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a big thing of Lonzo Ball's game. And I think that's kind of the next step. What is attacking the rim and saying getting the free throw line, right? And this is my biggest thing. Everyone's going to have a cold shooting night. I don't care if you're Steph Curry. I don't care if you're Reggie Miller. Everyone has it. You got to find it into a rhythm. That's my thing with Lonzo, is that if he doesn't have the 3-point shot going, get to the free throw line. And this year, Jamelle, he's starting to do that a little bit more. And I think he's shooting around 73% from the free throw line as well. And that's not being talked about enough as well. So he's put in the work, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm glad you shared that with us, because I don't think people realize how much work these guys put in when the camera's not on them.
Oh yeah. That's no exaggeration with him and his shooting form and the reps behind that. Sure. That's legit. He's done a tremendous job with that. And like you said, that takes a long time. It's not easy for a guy to do something he's been doing his whole life. And then now it's hard, especially to trust it in an NBA game as well.
Right.
They've done a tremendous job in that department. And like you said, he has had more aggression towards the rim on certain nights. And it's looked a lot better. He's looked a lot better. And I think the next step for him is, how are you going to control a basketball game? How are you going to manage a basketball game, in particular, the last, quarter and a half?
Sure.
Like you see Chris Paul, he'll have 6 points, but he'll have 14 assists and just in complete and total control of a game with 6 points. It doesn't take a lot of this in order to dominate the game. And I think Lonzo has the tools to be able to do that, especially in pick and roll settings. So, I think this year was the shot. Now, as we go into the summertime, off season, into next season, putting all that stuff together with the way I know he thinks he knows how, and the way I know he can, the way everybody believes in him, the way he can with his passing ability.
Sure.
He's going to be a pretty cool player to watch.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you shared that. And the last point I want to make about Lonzo is his move from Los Angeles to the other LA, Louisiana, New Orleans. How much do you think that really helped him? Get away from the family. I know he's growing up in California and all that stuff, and kind of like, all right, let me kind of like do me for a little bit. How much mentally, as a player, as a human being, did that help him?
Tremendously. I think the noise of LA is
it's a lot.
It's a beast, especially when it's a lot. And so some guys are for it. I don't think he minded it much, but I do feel like he feels a lot better and more comfortable where he is. I think he mentioned that. I think I saw a quote from him. Mm-hmm. He's where he wants to be, and it makes sense. Demeanor wise, the organization makes sense to him. It fits him, it suits him. And, he's, again, a guy who's not going to be a rah guy. He's not going to be out with the antics and all that kind of stuff. But there is a piece for a player when, he's like, can go and operate and kind of fly under the radar, especially when he's trying to improve his game and in a major way and stuff like that. And so because he's seen the success, I think that is why he enjoys it.
Sure.
And wants to be around. So it's a work in progress, but, proud of him and the staff and everybody and his teammates for supporting him. They're really behind him and stuff like that. So good kid, though. Really good kid. Definitely a kid you root for at all times.
That's all you hear about him. He's a good kid, and you just want to root for him and things like
Yeah.
that. Now, speaking of another kid that you got to see every single day until obviously COVID struck, Zion Williamson.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, everyone sees him on the court, and he's ridiculous on the court. What is he like at practice? Like the stuff he's doing in games is ridiculous. What's that like in practice? Because I mean, listen, I don't know how you. Some of these shots he's making off balance, his body control, his second leaps, all this different kind of stuff. At like what point like it's becoming kind of uncomfortably like it's like I expect him to do that now. Is that what you see at practice? Like, did you see that like, when he first came in New Orleans? Were you just like wow, or what's it like with
Yeah.
him?
None of that. It's you don't see any of that stuff till the lights come on, which is good, which is a good thing. You don't want him jumping all over the gym and
Sure.
practice. Yeah, for me, just it was cool to be able to connect with the human being.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we missed him for a majority of the year,
Right.
and that was tough. And he was in, and he was out, and he was around, and he wasn't, and it was strange, but was really able to sit down and connect with him, especially on the bench during games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and you really realize, as good as he is, how much he has to learn. Some of the
Right.
questions are just very like, but he asks them. He asks questions, and he sees everything. He notices everything, which is why I know he's a number one guy for your organization.
It's
Just
kind of elaborate on that when you say like,
it's everything from how the training room operates to the dynamic between coaching staff and team, you know, front office and players, and
sure.
like he's always asking about different elements and aspects of the organization, which is something I've never had from a player before. Never. Some guys came in and they just knew it, like a Rondo, because they're older. But for a young guy, like rookie, some of
Right.
the questions that he asked,
Teenager.
it really was very telling, that he was trying to figure the whole thing out, not just the game, just this entire deal. And I guess that is a testament to him understanding his position in the organization, in the city, and what he's now representing, which he's doing a phenomenal job of.
Yeah.
The guy can't be stopped right now. And so, yeah, on a day-to-day basis, when he was able to play, and was working with him early on, not a lot of the jumping stuff, but there was some of the footwork
Sure.
stuff. There was some of the ball handling stuff that you're seeing now with the point Zion stuff going on. That's where he wanted to be. That's where he was comfortable playing. He wasn't necessarily interested in the post. He'd much rather run through guys from 22 feet
Right. Right.
down in the paint. So another treat, another extreme luxury to be a part of that transition from his rookie year. Well, half rookie year. He didn't really play, but really seeing him now at this level, and what he's able to do healthy. Like he's had some issues here the last week or two, but he's put it together for the majority of this season, which is really good to see, really good to hear. He came in with the knee stuff after summer league with us.
Yeah.
It's just the health of him. So watching him on TV, I haven't talked to those guys, but watching him on TV, there's an assertive about him now that you can see in his face. He definitely has the face that me as a coach I like to see, and it's only going to get meaner as he continues to throw up 30 and 15. But yeah, it's those guys. Lonzo and Zion are in a transition period that's really cool, I think, for the organization and the city. When they are able to understand their spots on the floor and how their game flows, just the identity of what they actually are. That'll be a special force to work with. And it's coming. It is coming. There's a lot of moving parts to this thing. I think this summer is going to be an interesting summer for for the Pelicans and their roster and all that kind of stuff. And, let's see if they can go for it here the last 3-4 weeks. Right. And if Zion can put something together that sends them on a run, they get to 9th, they get to 8th. Right. I think that's the growth moment now for him this year is, okay, we're going for it. How do you get us there? And can you, can you take this roster, like Damian Lillard with the injuries has taken that roster to 4th, 5th, 6th place in the West.
Right. Sure.
And he's more than capable. He is more than capable, and he knows he is. So really excited to see these guys the rest of the season.
Yeah. And we're almost running out of time, but I want to get you back on because my favorite player is Brandon Ingram. I absolutely love him, and I'm glad you kind of elaborated him a little bit because he is a quiet guy, but he puts in his work as well. And like you can see that kid from Los Angeles, he had some injuries and all that different kind of stuff, and he's now really excelled here in New Orleans as well. But no, I wanted to bring this up to you is that I thought y'all finally got Zion healthy back last year. You were going on a nice run. You were probably one of the hottest teams in the NBA. Offensively, y'all were amazing. Y'all starting to kind of click, and then bam, COVID hits. What was the mindset? What was what's going on here? Take me through. You're in Sacramento. Game gets canceled. What was next?
Man, we really didn't know. It was, we put the suit on for the game in Sac, and they called it. We were thinking at most a couple week, stay at home or whatever. Little did we know what we were in for. And so, we pretty much just shut it down. I mean, we had workouts the next couple weeks just in case, but that was it. It was really a strange time. I think everybody pretty much shut it off. After that, it was a scary time in life, just family wise and life wise. We didn't understand what we were dealing with. We didn't know I don't think anybody really actually knew.
Right.
I mean, the CDC can say what they want, but nobody knew what we were really going through. Trump's saying one thing, Fauci saying another. It was all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So us as basketball, I mean, we were just basketball's over there.
Just shut it down.
It's over there. At this point in time, it's really uncomfortable even leaving home. And this seems to be like a situation unlike any other. And it was. And so I do think that changed after a period of time. Guys started feeling like, I need to get going. And it's not just basketball players. A lot of the country was like, this is ridiculous. I do think they did it the right way. And they really, from all the memorandums we were getting and all that kind of stuff, for them to pull off what they did with the bubble situation was less than ideal life-wise, but unreal far as just unbelievable project for the league and the league office and Chris Paul and Player Association and everything. That's special that they were able to come up with something like that. And it flowed the way it did. Phoenix ends up jump starting something extremely cool, being there 8-0, barely missing. And now, first, second place. That was extremely important for those guys to see and be a part of. And it's translated into Devin Booker and the Cam Jordans and Javon Carter. All those guys were able to see that in a different way. So it was valuable for a lot of guys. A lot of guys got paid off of their performances. A lot of guys, Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray became guys. They were really good players. Now they're guys now. It was a very fortunate time for basketball side of things in a lot of different ways. But, I think everybody in the country just really would like to protect their own and family and stuff like that. And
and it's mentally drained for and that's what a lot of us fans don't really see is that, right? you worry about basketball, like when y'all gonna play next, but like you have a family to worry about. You have your own personal health. Like your family's, your dad's in Indiana, you're in New Orleans. There's just a lot of different things that people don't really think about, and it's taxing and it's exhausting and things like that. But I really thought that y'all were getting really hot, and then just like COVID hit, and I really thought that was a playoff team. I really thought, looking at y'all's schedule, the way you were playing, kind of the chemistry was building back up again. Lonzo was on fire. Zion was coming back. BI was at an all-star level, and then just COVID hit. I thought that team was really good. And then you see now, like when you play without Zion for 40 games, like imagine if you had Zion for the whole year. That team was really good last year. I just think that y'all just got just a bad draw there, and just then the bubble, Zion was on 15 minutes, and that was a whole different ordeal. But I thought that team was good. I thought it was a playoff team last year. I truly actually enjoyed watching y'all and things like that. But last two questions before I let you go. Okay. Favorite NBA city to travel to?
Toronto.
I keep hearing that. Why?
Not close.
Not even close.
No.
It's not close. Just Toronto.
Toronto.
That's all you got to say. Okay, that's fine. You have to elaborate. Just Toronto, and then this is a big deal to me. I love asking this question. So especially from a coaching standpoint, down 3, you're on defense, 5 seconds left. Do you foul or do you not foul?
The infamous.
I'm interested because you saw it happen against Alabama in that the March Madness game, right? They don't foul.
Do.
Hit the 3.
The thing about that is I have to know who's on my team.
Okay.
Because there's a way to do it, and there's a way, and it could, if I have, right, like if I have 5 seconds, to me, yeah, but I foul on the catch.
Foul right on the catch.
Right on the catch.
But then you have to trust people that you're going to box out, and you know that fastball's coming at the rim, or they're going to intentionally miss. So like people think it's an easy, like, no, you do foul.
It's not right. It is tough. I had always been against it, to be honest with you.
Always been against it, or just play it out.
3 years ago, because I had seen, actually, my dad was a victim of it. He lost like every time he did it. In Portland. Yeah, it was like crazy. So I had always been against it because you give yourself a chance to lose. And like, there is a chance that you can lose. Right. If you tie the game on a 3, we don't lose. We keep playing, but we don't lose. Right. So it's grown on me, but I really depends on my group, because I've been a part of groups, ATO, end of game situations. Yikes. Actually, the team you talked about, Steph, we were supposed to foul Steph.
Are you talking about in the corner? But like that shot, though, I'm glad you brought that. It was 2016, I think. Yeah. I'll never forget where I was. It was in the corner. But like, first off, Anthony Davis fouled. Like, that's not talked about. Anthony Davis absolutely fouled. It should have been a 4-point play. But at the end of the day, like Jamelle, like he hit it over Anthony Davis falling away. It was ridiculous.
You sound like me. That would be my argument to you. Like that guy shooting that, we just pick him up and let's keep playing, right? But Quincy,
to your point, you went to overtime. You went to overtime though. Like you didn't lose.
Right. That's what I'm right. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. We didn't lose, and people would argue me to death about that. I was like, we didn't lose because Quincy was supposed to foul. It was Quincy Pondexter. I
wish I could pull up the play. I'm trying to think how it.
And
I'm trying.
He didn't. So it's tricky. I lost the game at a camp a couple years ago because I didn't. And Norman Powell, same scenario. Norman Powell was at the camp, and I'm still pissed off about that. But it's tricky. The time situation, where the ball is. That's who they have on the floor, like in that scenario with Golden State, you don't know who's shooting, like Steph.
Right, they have 5 shooters.
So it's a lot tougher in that scenario than like Atlanta right now. Trae Young's probably going to be the guy. Right. Or, maybe Kevin Herter, but Trae Young or in Portland's case.
And I'm not saying Herter's like a bad shooter, but like as long as Trae Young's not shooting it, like you live with it. Like Gallinari, same thing. But like they're not those kind of guys, but it's tough. Like people don't realize how you have to have trust in 5 guys. All 5 guys have to be on the same page.
But to your point, yes, they do 1000%. To your point, though, Kevin Herter is only on the basketball floor to shoot.
Yes,
that's his only job, right?
Right.
So why is he the live with guy? Like, why does it not matter if he makes it, but it matters if a 33% shooter, because that's what Devin Booker and I think when I was with Devin Booker, he's a 33% 3-point shooter.
Right.
So why would it be worse if he made it than, if a Kevin Herter or, like a guy like Joe Harris?
Okay.
Like, why are they the live with guy? Gallinari can't move right now. If
that's true.
He's shooting, why is it worse for Trae or Devin Booker to shoot it?
And that's fine. But from a coaching standpoint, right, you go into a game plan, right? You're thinking like, all right, as long as this guy doesn't beat us, we can kind of live with it. And like, maybe we can play. I just wouldn't be able to live with Trae Young getting a shot. Right. And it's your point is right. And I see where you're going with it. I understand. And I completely agree with you. But at the end of the day, just like you're like, someone, Steph Curry just hit a fadeaway corner 3 over Anthony Davis. Like, what do you do? There's not much you can do about that.
Right. But if it was a wide open Iguodala 3, you just live with it.
You wouldn't live with it? Like, you're just like
wide open, but he's an NBA player at the end of the day.
I understand that. But like at the end of the day, if Steph Curry's open, I'm like, that's in. If Iguodala's open, it's probably in, but at the same time, he might miss it. Like, there's just so many questions with that. That's why that question's so interesting. And
right. That's what I'm just arguing with you just for the sake of arguing. I don't believe anything I'm saying. But like, if so, like right now, if Jimmy Butler, if it's Miami,
would you live with Jimmy Butler shooting the 3?
He's the guy, or is it Duncan Robinson? Do you live with Duncan Robinson?
No, I don't live with
Tyler Herro.
No. Andre Iguodala, yes. But like Duncan Robinson and like those
can't guard them either.
Those are snipers. They're snipers though. Like
Jaylen Brown. Do you live with?
I'm not living with Jaylen Brown. I'm living with I know Tice isn't there anymore, but
Jason Tatum.
I live with Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
You live with Marcus Smart. I mean, Marcus Smart's a hell of a basketball player, but I'm like, if he beats me, if he ties his name up, then so be it. But Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown is not touching the basketball. Or at least we're doubling and getting out of their hands.
Me personally, I don't want any of them shooting it.
That's why you're the NBA and I'm posting a podcast.
I hate the live with narrative drives me nuts. Just me personally, but
no, I'm glad you brought that up because like at the end of the day, yes, I understand. I'm not. That's a good point. I never thought about it like that. You don't want to live with it, but I'm like, I'm okay if he makes it.
No, trust me, that is. We as coaches say it every day. Hey, we live with it. Oh, we're living. Oh, you hear guys yell like, "We live it." Yeah, like I know. I
want to elaborate this one more thing. I know you're about to go on something. I just texted my best friend this last night, and I think Wes Matthews is a great guy, but he's down like 12 with like a minute 30 left, and he shoots the bow and arrow. Like he makes a shot and shoots the bow and arrow. Why? Like, does he realize he's down 9 points? Like with a minute and a half left. I think there's a lot of celebrating going on. It's just so unnecessary. I don't get it. It's just a lot of unnecessary celebrating.
I mean, it's AAU. It's the
That's
AAU.
What I was gonna say. It's the AAU thing.
You know, like that's what you do in AAU, and that's what we kind of have breeded up here in a lot of habits and a lot of the way things operate. It's AAU has a tremendous influence and impact on a lot of the guys up here, a lot of the people up here. I mean, there's teams where every player has a different handshake with every other player. Like, I mean,
explain that. Is it too friendly? Because Draymond Green just came out with that. Is it too friendly now? Is basketball too friendly?
I think it's been too friendly, but that's just me. I appreciated what I grew up watching.
Yeah.
And there's like, yeah, like why the handshakes, the jersey swap. I just don't get it. Like, why are you swapping disgusting jerseys with a guy you make more money than? Like, I don't understand it. Like, what are you going to do with it?
I guess just wash it.
What do you do with it? Somebody answer, what do you do with a jersey after a sweaty jersey after it is swapped?
I just think it's friendly. You're right.
Football, sure, you play everybody once every blue moon, maybe, you know, if you're not in the same
Right.
Like, so that makes a little bit more sense. And they generally are doing it with
stars,
people they respect, like, defensive back. I don't know.
Right. Like
They just,
right.
We just don't see you enough. Like, we see these guys
every year.
You're going to see Draymond every, 4 times a year in the West. That one I don't understand either. The jersey swap is foreign to me, but I do like. I think the friendliness part of it has come from the rules. They've made it a softer game. Trying to protect guys, and they go to the monitor all the time. And
how much do you hate that? How much does that ruin the flow? Because it happened in the Pelican Celtics game this year. How much does it ruin the flow? Where they just go to the monitor for 2.5, 3 minutes.
I don't think it's much of a flow thing as much as it more annoys me that or the guy got poked in the eye. Like, why are we going to the monitor? I think that's more the issue for me than the pace and flow of the game. It's just every little slap and bump is some huge deal. Now, there were some situations last night in the Phoenix game. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to check that out.
The Beverly thing where he kind of hip checked them. It was kind of to the groin area. Was it? Are you talking about the Beverly hip bump? Or
so there was that one, and then Devin Booker went up top with Kawhi Leonard. And they went to the monitor when he tried after he had that crazy dunk.
Right.
A couple of possessions later, Devin met him up top. It was like Reggie said on the telecast. It was a common foul.
Sure.
He got a flagrant for it, but to me, it was a common foul. Get up, shoot the free throws.
Right.
So, I think because of that, it's made it, freedom of movement is something it just makes it much more lax, a softer game. You're not allowed to hand check and all that kind of stuff. So it's taken the physicality for the most part out of it. Everything's a moving screen. In an attempt to protect guys, I guess. But, at the end of the day, it's still a contact sport, and
got to be physical.
You got to figure out ways to impose your will. You got to figure out other ways to impose your will on a night to night basis, and a lot of that's just sheer energy. You see that with a team like Memphis. It's just sheer energy, how they win games. They've done a great job with the physical presence that they have and how they put it together. That's a young team that's pretty cool to watch. So, it's a lot of different stuff in the league, man. It's a cool place to be, and a lot of different things going on. But it'll be cool to see how all these guys finish up. But hopefully, everybody can stay healthy throughout these. You're seeing a lot of injuries, which isn't good.
Yeah. So, Jamelle, I can't thank you enough for literally coming on this podcast on a Friday and just chopping it up with me. And I've watched you for years now, and your dad, and y'all are awesome, and you're an even better person just meeting you. So thanks for taking the time, and hopefully you get to come back on, and maybe if you ever come back to New Orleans or something like that, we can go out, grab a beer or some lunch or some dinner, whatever it may be. So, we appreciate your time, and thanks for everything.
Hey, absolutely. Always up for talking and helping out. And, New Orleans is near and dear to my heart. Always brought me up. So really appreciate you guys and the fan base and everybody out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamelle. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.